Hello, and welcome to the Kink Perspective. My name's Chris. I'm a psychotherapist and consultant. On today's show, I'm doing a live interview today with somebody from the community I've had some great interactions with. We've been slowly talking about different facets about coming into the lifestyle when we're a little bit older, some of the things that we experience. And I think what resonated about wanting to have this conversation today, I think this is where a lot of us come into it. We're not just younger when we enter the lifestyle. I think a lot of us end up crashing into it when we're a little bit older, had a little bit more experience, or maybe we're coming out of relationships that were a little bit more vanilla, and we're starting to realize that our feelings, our desires, our fantasies, there's something more to it. So today, I'm sitting down with Honeybeeeee, someone who is new, like myself, a little bit older, that's starting to experience the world of BDSM and the lifestyle, and is ready to start talking about her experiences, some of the things that she's involved with, some of the things that she's seen, and go from there. So without further ado, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule and house leaks and everything else going on in your chaotic life to have a little bit of a chat with me today.
Yeah, I'm just hiding in my car from the kids, and a normal Sunday night.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring up, obviously, with your kids. Do your kids know you're involved in the lifestyle?
Absolutely not.
Really?
There's been a few packages that have been opened a few times that I've gotten like some text from my daughter, like, your gross shit has arrived, something like that. So, I mean, my son doesn't have any idea, but she certainly has a tiny bit of a clue, but I try to keep my personal life so far distance from their life. And I think I've done a pretty good job of it. So, yeah, they have enough to worry about, you know? So I try and make their home life as peaceful and um, good as I possibly can. No, I don't always do it, but I try.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, not everybody's ready to be open within the lifestyle, especially within their families. I remembered a while
Well,
back.
I'm open sexually with her. I mean, she's older. She's 17.
Okay,
I'm very open as far as, you know, loving your body, and not, I don't believe in giving it away, and you know dating and what's expected and how a boy should treat her.
sure.
I think I taught that at a very young age. um but she doesn't need to know about the specifics, right? Not yet, at least. But I think we have an open enough communication that if she never ever like needed to ask me something, I would be honest with her.
Well, fair enough. I mean, which is going to lead me to a really interesting question. Is there shame for you that surrounds some of the things that you're starting to explore inside the lifestyle from sharing that side with her,
Absolutely.
or is it more of a protectionary thing?
Um, I want to protect them. They've had a really rough life. I was with someone for 30 years, their dad, who is still an active drug user. So I feel like I am their only um, constant. So that's all I aim to be. So that also limits my dating, my experiences, because most weekends I'm home with them, and I'm not going to leave them home alone. And uh, they do come first, 100%. Um, but I'm not embarrassed whatsoever at all. All of my close friends know about FetLife, about you know things that I do outside of FetLife. My mother even knows. I've shared my page with her. I've shown her pictures. It's nothing that I'm ashamed of. In fact, I feel almost proud that I have accepted myself. I'm going to be 49 in a few months. Um, I think I've done a pretty good job of navigating my life so far, and this is now like the second chapter. So I'm not embarrassed. I just don't think that they need to know anything about it.
Well, no, fair enough. I mean, there are some things about our lives that, there should be privacy and some sort of separation. I know this is going to be controversial to some, but I think there should be some separation between parents and the things that parents do and their children. They don't need to necessarily know everything. I know that's probably going to upset some, but maybe you need to hear it. Parents should be parents and not friends. And part of your life is you've had a life before your child was around, so you don't have to necessarily share every dark desire that you have or thought you have, because then that removes some autonomy.
There's nothing wrong with separation, 100%. I mean, I think the thing I struggle with the most is sometimes I lie about where I'm going or what I'm doing, and I don't like liars, and I'm not a liar, and I expect them never to lie to me, but they don't need to know I'm going to see, quote unquote, excuse me, my friend John. You understand? So I'll just say, okay, I'm going out with so and so, and so and so always has my back, and we'll say that we're together. And so I've found ways to work around it. I don't think there's anything wrong with having an amazing open relationship, but I'm friends with a good amount of moms that I met through FET, and I think they would say the same thing I would. Your children have to come first.
Sure, sure. I mean, I understand that. I have a different view on that, but absolutely, I get the respect. How do you, before we get into, I definitely want to get into your journey in BDSM and how that's come about. How do you explain if you have marks, bruises?
That's funny because I recently just had a fun little play date last week, and I was left pretty bruised. And in my house, there's no such thing as privacy. So if I'm in the shower or in the bathroom or getting dressed, you know, there's no privacy. Um, I haven't been questioned about it. I try to almost hide it as best as I can, and I wouldn't tell the truth. I would say, I fell, or I bumped into a desk at work. I mean, I don't
Does
ever
your
want
daughter
my
think you're clumsy? Like, were you clumsy prior in your life, and then
I
you're
feel
like
like
easy able?
I do feel like I bruise easy, so that's a plus. Um, I think that at 17, she doesn't pay much attention to me. It's more my 11-year-old that,
Sure,
like, we spend like all our time together, that would be like, hey, mom, like, why do you have a bruise the size of a handprint on your ass? But I was very aware that week to, I was just careful. Let's just say
I
that.
understand. I
Yeah.
understand.
And he
Yeah,
wouldn't, at 11, he wouldn't even understand, like,
no, 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 no. And in a
he
couple of
went,
years, his focus won't be on you. It's going to be on the girls that he's looking at or whoever he's
he
interested
wears
in.
I Love MILF shirts, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're,
That's a whole other type of session that we're not doing today. So yeah,
I'm just saying,
we won't explore that one. We're
his
not going to
focus
explore
is
that one.
more like, we watch a movie every night together. He wants ice cream.
Sure,
It's not something I would even attempt to, yeah, not a conversation I would ever have. So and the bruises are few and far between. I mean, I've been celibate for almost over a year, so
right.
I don't date. I haven't dated. I haven't even attempted to do anything with anybody. It's been a very quiet and soul searching time for me. So yeah.
So with you being a mom, and it's really good because a few months ago I'd spoken to some people on the other side of the country about parenting and their views on how open they were with the lifestyle to their families or how do they explain things. And that was a really great conversation with that couple. Um, but it does lead me to a question for you. what would this is tricky, but I'm gonna because we're all adults here. What happens when your daughter hits 18? What if she was to somehow crash into this world and somehow crash into your profile?
So I think the reason why I'm disliked a bit by good amount of people on there is because I think 18 is way too fucking young to explore anything as far as BDSM. I really do. I even think 21 might be cutting it kind of close. I think that it takes so much understanding of your past experience, of your desires, of your needs, of who you actually are as a person. And you don't know that at that age. You have no clue who you are at 18 or 21. And I know that's controversial and I've been called out on it a few times, but that's my personal belief.
No,
Um,
I think there's probably a lot more people. I mean, there's actually science to back some of what you're saying.
they
Developmental
say like
ages for
25, right? Like 25 is
well,
basically like the.
okay. Still, I'll put the science in behind
Okay.
that. Neurobiology and psychology would say that for men, the brain doesn't fully develop between the ages of about 22 to 25. With women, it's a little bit earlier, between anywhere from the ages of about 21 to 24. But everything obviously can range. We have maturity in there, responsibility, and even pride inside of ourselves. I'm not here to judge what everybody else does. You do you, I do me, and let the world. But we can have our opinions, and that's kind of what's great about having our own individual thoughts. If we don't agree with somebody, move on. But one
When
thing
I
I
see
know,
when I see like a 19-year-old on that site, and basically it's just like her on Instagram, basically with her tongue out and her tits out or whatever you want to call it. I have to question where her parents are, to be dead honest. And again, some of the things I say here tonight are going to be probably a little bit, I don't want to say confrontational, but they're my opinion, and I've never
no,
stepped back about how I felt about things.
well, that's fine. But that's kind of the point. Is
Yeah.
where
Where
we're
are her
starting to.
parents? Where are her parents? Like,
I
why?
think I think it goes beyond even that, though. I think we're kind of in a time now that where we used to have respectful discussions or have opinions on things or have certain beliefs have kind of gone away. Um, I, I work with young people as well as adults. I primarily work with military, but the reality is that we have a world of knowledge at our fingertips, and the majority of us, quite a vast majority of the world, doesn't use it for their betterment. We use it to become instant popular or insta famous, or we are saying things, we're saying the very words that come out of our mouths that we're just thinking that are unfiltered.
It's the
And
follow. It's the follower mentality. That's all it is. I
sure,
see it every day. It's only about numbers. It's
well,
only
sure,
about.
it is very much rooted in attention seeking behavior.
And
And,
there's
and I,
ways to seek attention, because believe me, I do. And then there's ways to like. Okay, so like when I joined FetLife, like I had no clue what it was. It was introduced to me to a guy I went on a date with, and he was like, "Well, since you're into like the scene, like this might be a good place for you to indulge." So I joined October of 2022. So it's almost been 2 years now. And I, at first, 100%, not gonna lie, looked at it as a dating site. I joined my local groups, my local munches. I only followed people or vice versa that were in my area because I thought, okay, this would be a great way for me to meet people that I haven't been able to meet. What it actually turned into was and it's gotten worse, I would say, over the past like 3 to 6 months. I feel like it's become everyone from Instagram has popped over, and instead of posing in a bikini, they just like show a tit, but they have no idea like anything about what the lifestyle is at all. It's just, again, followers. They're just counting followers. They
I'm
tag.
Yeah, I guess I get lost in a place like FetLife when I look at it. I don't really understand what the high. I understand with Instagram what they get out of it. I do realize it's monetized there, or YouTube, or X, or a couple of other, even what is it, TikTok? 'Cause I
Or
don't use
Twitter.
that.
Yes, all of it. I get that.
Sure, I don't understand the high follower counts on a place like FetLife. I honestly don't know if the monetization is there. Maybe there is, or they're selling their underwear, or, let me read your tarot card, or give you, in some other instances, and terrible dating advice. But whatever the case may be, it may be, and go from there. I think there's some really valuable resources, but I don't honestly know what high follower counts get. Now, for the reality of why people do it, again, we come into attention seeking behavior. It's the endorphin rush. We need the high every day of all of, we log in and I've got 58,000 likes on 17 pictures.
A hundred
Uh,
percent.
and that's fine, but then you have to also place in the reality. Let me kind of segue with that. What kind of then drew you to the lifestyle, and how did you really start your journey?
Okay, so I married my high school sweetheart. I was 15 when I got married. I grew up on Long Island. It was a very, where I grew up, my town, it was just a very beautiful, close knit group of friends. And we all experienced life together. We all started dating the same, my best friend started dating a group of guys. We all dated, went to prom, we went to college, and it just all developed. And then I got married. I want to say I was 29, but I was with him all that time. Um, but I never experienced like sex. I mean, we had sex, but it was mostly vanilla sex, and I never really understood much of any of it. I knew what turned me on, but I never expressed to him any of those things. I know this is so fucking cliche, but when like the 50 Shades of Grey came out, like all those books, like that's how my son was conceived. Oh, 1,000 fucking percent. Because I was so turned on by like the idea of not him, but giving control over to somebody and being able to trust them. But again, that comes with a very deep psychological. I was not in a happy marriage. I was married to a drug addict. I was the one that was in control. I wanted him to take control. So it's all, to me, like BDSM is all psychological, right? Like for me, for some people, it's not. Some people could walk in and do a scene and they're good and they walk out. It's not like that for me. Like it's all in my brain. It's all in my brain. It's everything's in my brain all the time.
Sure.
Um, I don't know. After we separated and I started dating. Well, I don't want to say dating. I want to say I basically just like fucked a random amount of people um, at like 44. And then I met this guy like on Tinder. And um, our connection was so raw. And he would never in a million years call himself a Dom. And I would never call myself a sub, but that's what the relationship was. And I didn't understand it until we stopped seeing each other. And then joined FET. And then I started really, you know, researching and reading. And I was like, wow, like our dynamic was 100% that. It's just neither one of us knew what it was at the time,
Sure.
basically.
No, I mean, I understand. It isn't definitely an overwhelming experience. I remember when those books came out over 20 years ago. I'd already been in a lifestyle for not that long. I mean, I don't know, 5 years, maybe 4 years in, and I kind of remember eye rolling. I definitely know the people that I had mentors at the time, and people who had already been in the scene for a good 15 years. They were all very much, scoffing at the fantastical adventure of that book because it was
Oh
definitely
yeah, it's like a
fiction.
joke. It's like a joke. I get it. It made a lot of housewives horny. Let's just say
Oh
that.
God, yes. That I had a group. I lived in Atlanta at the time, and I had a group of friends, and so every Friday we would meet. And I remember the two girls in our group. They were both, the couple of wives, and I remember this one. She was talking about this thing, and I'm like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And as we were walking in the restaurant, and she mentioned it, and I just glazed over, and I scoffed at her, and she's like, "What?" And I told her how I'm like, "The book's bullshit. There's nothing about it as." I said, "Don't even get me started about consent or the 800,000 times she said no, and he just violated that. Let's not worry about that. It's BS." And she's like, "Yeah, but I was so excited reading it." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's kind of why
Because
she
here,
sold the books."
right? Because honestly, here's the thing: most strong women don't want to be in control all the time. I mean that's a given, right? Like I'm in control of my life 24/7. I'm in control of my career, my children, my finances. Like everything is me. And sometimes like I don't want to be in control. I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to I would love to be fucking told what to do. And I very much am I'm very old school. I was raised in a super freaking Italian family. My grandfather was in the mafia. Like we knew, like women knew their place. And I married like a man that was from Sicily. And I was very happy being a housewife. I mean, I worked, but I am 100% okay with committing to being someone's partner. And when I say that, I mean doing their laundry, cooking dinner, all of that. But then there has to be something that's given back in return, right? So
Sure.
people will call me an anti-feminist, whatever. But I don't. It's not my thing. Like
Isn't it interesting though that you're called an anti-feminist, yet you're doing the very thing that makes you happy? Of course, and then I'm going to sure there's somebody going to throw in the whole patriarchy is evil and white supremacy and I don't know homophobia or
God,
something else. I see that kind of rolling my eyes just because of the notion that if you are enjoying something and it's a way that you enjoy living your life, there's no regret there. You're not saying, "Oh, well, I broke out of this because I hated it." You're drawn to it more because you enjoy it. That's literally the part of the lifestyle why we're here. We're playing into the power exchange itself. We're playing into the notion of our erotic fantasies and what we want to do. And that's what brings people to the lifestyle. But we are now seeing such a, before I even get into I don't, the whole paradigm shift of, we need to be we need to have more diversity and equity and inclusion in the lifestyle, the DEI philosophy, which is just ridiculous in my eyes.
there's nothing more inclusive in the lifestyle. That's the thing.
I couldn't agree more.
And
I
then there's people that want to fight against it, and it's like you could be anything you want, honestly, especially in FetLife. You can call yourself anything you want. You could behave however you want, your desires, everything, right? It shouldn't be judged. I used to judge the shit out of it. Like, I used to go on there on a Saturday night after a few glasses of wine and be like appalled at some of the shit I would see. Like, I don't want to see like a 19-year-old girl tied up in barbed wire getting cummed on by like 10 guys. Like, that's not a turn on to me. I think that's fucked up as shit. But I don't, I just ignore it, right?
Sure,
Like, I
sure.
don't, it's not, it's, everyone says, like, you know, don't kink shame, but all everyone does is kink shame. It's pretty
Of course you
wild.
do. Oh, of course, of course.
I mean,
Look,
I do it
I,
too. I do
I'll
it
be honest
too.
with you. I kink shame the shit out of the rope community. Why?
Why?
Because I can.
Why?
Because first off, and all right, I've had rope people on. I love Mr. Tinker Train. Had a great conversation. Bound Ashley, Simmerwa Princess. I've had people from all over the world talk to me about rope. God bless you, people, because the 935,000 hours you all take to set up a scene, I'm done. right? My first experience, I went to a private event, and it was great, and it was high protocol, and there was all these demonstrations going to go on. And I'll never forget, there was this guy setting up, pulling out his rope, and he's like, day one, setting up his rope, checking his rope. I'm like, cool. We went to dinner, come back, he's still fiddling with his rope. Next day, same thing, fiddling with his rope. And I'm like, how much rope did you bring?
Well,
Bottom line,
they are suspending like three women from the ceiling.
that's, you
So
know what, though? I'm a sadist. As controversial as that might be as a therapist, my private life has nothing to do with my professional life,
right,
but I enjoy pain and torment and the pleasure I get from that. So when I see somebody taking 9 million hours to set somebody up, and I'm like, yeah, cool, that's like not entertaining. So
it's
no
funny
shade on the
because
rope community.
when I did my like first BDSM test,
Oh God.
I identified 100% as a rope bunny.
Oh, that's wonderful. I did. Is that also your favorite transformer? Are you like the rope transformer? Because
I've never even tried it. That's the best part.
none
Like,
of those tasks are even real. I've talked about those before, but that's okay. No, I throw shade at the rope community. I love the rope community. I think what they do is beautiful. It's definitely not for me. I kid them in jest. I don't. It's not my thing, and that's fine. I don't. Um, I'm not going to
that's
show up
my
at a
point.
rope church.
There's so many different kinks out there, and again, like I probably don't agree with half of them. Um, I wrote something the other day and then I ended up deleting it because sometimes I just write out of anger or frustration and then I don't. But like, I don't, I don't get, I don't get CNC at all. I don't get daddy daughter. I don't get mother son. Like, there's a lot of taboo things out there that to me are a complete turnoff.
Well,
And
sure.
when I wrote it, I like wrote that out and I said, and some people might be grossed out that I like to be like a human hand puppet. Like I get that. Like everyone has their shit, but I've learned, thankfully, that if something does not sexually please me or if I'm disgusted by it, most likely I'm going to walk away from it. That's not to say if I read something from like a 19-year-old girl talking about how she's fucking her married boyfriend in the fucking parking lot and talking shit
Well,
about
but
his wife.
okay. So let me. I will say about this. I think a lot of those
It's fake.
are well, they're fake stories, and they're probably not even actually like 19-year-old girls. They
Yeah, it's
usually
like
have.
bots and bullshit. But I
Well,
still don't
right,
want to read it.
right. But you don't. That and I kind of want to pull this away from that because I see that all the time. I'm going to be the first to say it. I've said it before in the past. I'm happy I have over 2,000 blocks on my profile and counting daily. I
Wait,
don't live a
let's talk
day without blocking somebody.
let's talk about blocks for a minute.
Let's
Have you
talk about blocks for a minute.
Okay, have you ever this is the funniest shit. I am blocked by so many people. Like people I've never even spoken to. Like I am blocked. Have you
Sure.
ever clicked on a profile and been blocked? And been like, why
Yeah,
am I and like
absolutely. It
thought
doesn't
like
bother me.
but
It
have
doesn't
you ever
bother me.
thought like why am I blocked? Like I don't
Not
know
really.
them.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't affect me because, it's not a week doesn't go by where I get a little bit of hate. My favorite one this past week alone that I got was I should be doing more than I am doing as a therapist because it's my responsibility to the community to give this information away for free. And because I'm not doing it enough, and I quote, go fuck yourself, you're a terrible person, and then blocked me, and I couldn't even respond to the conversation. Never met
Oh,
this
that's
person.
the fucking best when they insult you. I had a man, like, I post my DMs a lot because I find them wild. That
Mm-hmm.
was like, I followed you because you were Jewish, but you look like a fucking bitch and go fuck yourself and then block me. And I was like, if you have the balls to write that, the least you should do is have the balls to let me fucking reply. Right?
I, sure, maybe they don't want to. They're taking the dog for a walk in the park and to get some coffee and butter. I
Why
don't
are
know.
you so
I
why are you so
don't
fucking
know.
angry? I feel like why are people so fucking angry?
Because okay, we get into I think there is a mentality that permeates for a lot of people that we have to live up to an ideal, and so when that ideal isn't met, or that image isn't met, an instant feeling of being let down, and then it's that person letting them down, and so they want to take that frustration out. I'm not. First off, what I'm saying, I'm not justifying behavior. I don't do that with my clients. I don't do it in therapy. I do try to attempt to explain behavior. So that is one potential explanation that I see why. I don't know why a lot of men act like this. I understand. I can tell you why this website has become more of like this, and that is straightforward. That when places like, what is it, Tinder, canceled the OnlyFans crowd completely. So if you had an OnlyFans link, I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure somebody can correct me, but they deleted your account or blocked your account or at least told you
I
must
wouldn't
be
know.
removed.
I have been banned from Tinder for like 4 fucking years.
Well, let me say this. So when Tinder blocked those profiles, there was only, what was it back in the day? It was Craigslist and then Backpage. Well, Backpage needed to be shut down. It was shut down because it was a sex trafficking site. Craigslist was the same thing. There was a lot of personal ads there. It didn't leave a lot of space for people to go to. So when that crowd came over to FetLife, and they used a lexicon of words that are inside of the lifestyle, go, I'm a sub and I'm having sex and it's amazing, and buy my sub. And then these guys who came over with them, created a caveat. Now, people don't like when I say this, but the reality is one perpetuates the other. If there wasn't these people doing this, some more of this, creating this, it wouldn't be there. So instantly, I know people are going to say, well, you're victim shaming. I'm not victim shaming. We have to understand what drives the behavior. If there are nobody posting nudes, there are going to be no comments of show me your tits. There's not, it's
So
not going to
that's another
exist.
thing. That's another thing too, though. So I could probably talk to you for 4 hours on this alone. You know, women complain about the way that they're treated on there, or about the way that men talk to them. But a lot of it is all about content. So if you take pretty pictures in a bra and write a little song lyric, then you're going to get all the happy people replying. But when you post a picture like, you know, let's just say hung out and you're like hungry for some cum, and then you're shocked when like 200 guys are like, let me come on your fucking face. Do
I
you
know
get
where
what
you're going with this.
I'm
I
saying?
know where you're going with this because a couple of months ago, I talked about personal responsibility in social media. I talked about it as far as even on my podcast. I said, if you are going to do these things, because there's a very popular user, I'm just going to give the country in the UK who was like, oh, it's so disgusting and terrible. This actually was a few years ago, but these types of conversations come up all the time. And I read this one day because she's really popular. I followed her because of mental health. I thought it was great because she shared her stories and it was inspiring. But then on occasion, she obviously shared photographs. So then one day she was on KMP and was lamenting about how all these guys do these terrible things and comments. And I said, okay, I'm curious about something. So at the time, I think, let's say a round number, she had 140 photos. So I did a scientific thing. I went through every photo and I calculated how many of those she requested engagement, how many of them
Right,
she degraded herself, how many of
right,
them she degraded and then requested engagement. And then you're telling me you're surprised.
right. And then she was fucking shocked at the fact that guys were like, I'll fuck you, I'll come in your face, whatever it might be. That's
Correct.
so that's probably the biggest problem on there. Like, I think that's what might aggravate me the most is everyone screaming consent, consent, consent.
Oh, they don't understand what consent is. I
Consent
could tell you,
is
I could tell you right now they don't
agreed,
understand.
but again, okay. So this is another problem. We're older, right? Like I've already
Sure.
lived half a fucking decade. I know what consent is. I get it. Consent is not, I'm gonna post a fucking picture of me with cum on my face but you can't say anything bad. Like, that's not consent. You're posting a picture of cum on your face. They can say whatever the fuck they want. You're not helping your situation. It's it's this age group of like 32 to 38, I want to say, because I don't think it really happens with the older 20 people. And if I'm out of line, please delete this before it goes
Sure. No,
live.
you're
But
you're. I mean, well, we're already going to be, but I mean, I'm not. I don't. I'm not here to ban your free speech. Unless
I
you get to the
said either
point,
I'm
unless
gonna make a lot of friends off of this, or I'm gonna make a lot of
well,
enemies.
listen, the only things that, I'm not gonna, I don't sit back and obviously like racism or anything overt about someone's
No, we're
identity
not
or
gonna
their
talk about
sexuality.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't do that. That's where I terminate things. But as far as if you have a personal thought on something, that's your personal thought,
I
and
just
I'm
think
not here to police speech.
there's a certain age group that they think that they know it all, but they don't know nothing yet, and they walk around mighty and boastful and forceful, and they almost have the mentality like they're gonna change it, and it's not gonna be changed. Like, it's been around forever, and it's not going to change. It is what it is. Like, I would like that's the whole point. You like earlier you referenced my daughter and me being a mom. I mean, she would never do that, and I would never do that, because there is a level of tact and respect. And it's one thing if you do that with your man or who you're with, and you want to share that, but you can't expect to be respected if you share, I hate to say it, but like pictures of your pussy, and you're like, I want to be fucked deep and hard right now. What do you expect? Oh, your eyes are so pretty? It's never going to happen.
Well, I think too. So let me. I'll come to the other side of this. Fine, if you want to commodify yourself and you've made a business out of yourself, that's fine. That is your right to do. So I'm not going to. I
I'm
don't really
not
care
talking
about.
about
No, no, no,
OnlyFans
no. Hold on,
though.
hold on. Let me finish my thought here. Let me explain this. What I'm saying. I don't really care who's doing what. That's if you want to do that. Here becomes the issue with this. There are a lot of these images that are bombarded daily, and because I have so many people blocked. There has got to be probably thousands of images daily and videos and sexual videos and all that stuff. That's fine. It's an amateur porn site now. It's porn life. I said that a long time ago. I stand by it. It's fine. However, what ends up happening when you're bombarding images with this, and I have talked to both young men, I've talked to both men and women of different age groups, and I'm going to give you the feedback of two. One was a young girl who came to me and said, "This is all I see. Is this what is expected of me entering into the lifestyle?" That was her question to me. And for the guys, all they saw was, "I'm seeing this from every woman. Is this how I'm supposed to talk to them? Is this what they all want?"
Right,
And
right.
first off, I'm not excusing what they're saying, because first off, I've dealt with women. I was on alt life for a very long time in my early years. I don't know, back in the early 2000s, I was a big blogger there. But the reality is that when I've approached people, hey, Honeybee, wow, you've got a great profile. I think we have, greetings is actually how I was first taught to talk to people. Greetings, Honeybee. Saw your profile. You sound like an interesting person. Hey, I'm into, I really do like Italian food, but I suck at cooking it. Uh, and I would ask you, what drew you to the lifestyle? Something that's engaging and knows that, so I'm a little bit sincere. And then I would sign, regards, my whatever, my screen name, or maybe my name, Chris, whatever it was. But I've always been genuine in my responses to people, because I feel being genuine gets you further. But now I do understand why some of these people are confused about how to approach people. I think that's problematic on both sides, because no one's learning about how you should be entering the lifestyle and how you should talk to people, and that there is etiquette. Because why? You have these new generations going, fuck etiquette. I don't care about you old people, you gatekeepers. Fuck the old guard. I'm not doing your rules. I'm part of the new generation. And it's creating the atmosphere that we're seeing
Agree. So here's my thing. When I get like shitty comments on my pictures, like I post every day, and it's like it's a thing for me. I'm not gonna lie. We talked about dopamine hits, and yes, it's a thing for me. When I post a pic and I don't get like at least 100 likes in like the first 2 hours, I'm like, fuck. Like that's 100% there. But I do post every day, and every now and then, and I'm very lucky that the people that do follow me or I'm friends with are usually quite respectful, and I think I'm the same in return. You will get an asshole that says something like "let me glaze your tits" or whatever. Um, I try and educate them in a nice way. Like I'll say like, "Yo," I'll just like, "Yo, dude," like, you know, step on the brake. I'll be like, "Yo, dude, step on the brakes, relax,"
My
like
bro,
in a funny
relax.
way.
You know what? If you didn't
Relax.
say it like that, I might actually open my shirt up and give you a shot. But no,
I'm always like, "Yo, dude, relax," and then they'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry." But the point is like it's acceptable to other women. So then, but it's not acceptable to me. And that's,
sure.
again, you just brought it up. Like, how do they react? Because when women are then requesting in their pictures or in their status posts, like all these, explicit, dirty things, and they're reacting to it, and then if I say something as simple as like pop my cherry, because I posted like a picture one time like a cherry, and but like that's tongue in cheek, like that's fun, my cherry's been popped. I have 2 kids, like no one's popping it. But I think that there, again, I'll go back to this generation of mid 30s that haven't quite figured it out yet. So they're past vanilla, but not really BDSM. And I almost call them like the Instagram era, where they got their followers on Instagram from posing in bikinis and being beautiful and sexy.
No,
Because,
yeah, I see all that, and I think there's a majority of us that can kind of look past it. I I know that there's a lot of people who look. Fat life's not perfect, and I already know of the all the alternatives that have been attempted. I mean, there's even a place called fetish.com, and it's a bulletin board. It's quite similar. People don't flock there in the same way, and I see the complaints, and they don't have any skin in the game, so there's no investment for them. They have no capital invested inside of FetLife. They've got, a dozen people who work on that website, and they're policing it to the best of their ability. Do I like everything I see there? No. Do I report it? Yeah. Does it get taken care of? Hopefully. That's the best I can see. There's a user right now I have a massive problem with, who is a AP junior on the rise, the guy who was recently banned out of Australia for plagiarism
yep,
and
yep,
other
yep,
things.
yep,
But
yep.
there is another user who
Early.
without, yeah, Charlie. Um, but all of these things permeate this place. That's
Yeah.
fine. It's not, we can overlook some of these things, and we can learn to move forward if we are given blocks. I tell people all the time, your first option is don't sign up. Your second option is don't post. Your second option or third option is, if you do post, you set it to private. You don't like that. Okay. So your fourth option is set it to friends only. Nope, you don't like that. Your fifth option then is you're going to make a public post on a public website. Doesn't matter if you sign up, it is social media. People can take your images. That little protection thing of "I will prosecute" actually holds no validity
Of
inside of the
course
eyes of the
not.
law. And then they are offended when things happen. But we have moved into the era now of "I'm offended about everything and my feelings matter." No, you don't. And no, they don't. And no one's going to listen. I've argued this with, there was a person who got recently a timeout. I told that user when she was lamenting about all these things, and I said that here's all these things you can do. You can also block users. You can, well, they shouldn't respond that way. Well, you don't police other people's behavior. I work in cognitive behavioral therapy to change behavior. And that takes a lot of time, months. For some, it takes years. If you think you're going to go online and tell somebody you're being a bad guy and stop doing what you're doing, or Honeybee, I don't like what you're doing, stop doing it, and you're going to go,
It
oh, okay,
doesn't matter. Yeah.
not going to happen. Well,
Yeah.
no, it's not that it doesn't even matter. It's not going to happen. We're
I'm not
not going to change it.
correct. So, all right, let's take a breath here because I'm getting
Yeah, I want to kind of bring this back to where we need to
yeah,
be. I don't want to
I'm
make this
getting so because FetLife
yeah, I don't want to make it a bash session because that's not why I
it's not
wanted
about
you.
that. Listen, there's been amazing things about it there. Like, you know, I literally have made such amazing friends. I would never like that's what I said when I first joined. I joined it for dating and I don't even date anymore and I literally have made honestly like some of the women there are so top notch.
Sure.
Um they have had my back 1,000%. I have been pretty much tortured there and put through the fucking mill by other women in a way that if I ever wrote a book, I think most of FetLife would be disgusted by the popular women.
Well, okay, so let's maybe lean away from because FetLife isn't. And I've said this before.
No, so
FetLife
even
is
that's a
hold
talk.
on,
Okay, so
hold
let's
on.
go back.
But let me say this: FetLife isn't a community. FetLife's a platform to find a local community, and I think a lot of people say that, and I correct that because it's not. It's not a. People want to say all of FetLife's a community. It's not. If I live in Los Angeles and I log on to FetLife, I'm going to go to the Los Angeles area and find a community within Los Angeles. I don't consider everybody in Los Angeles that touches FetLife part of the FetLife Global because I don't. I think that's probably one of the bigger mistakes that a lot of people make because we really have to look at FetLife of what it is. It's just a platform for us to connect, for you to meet John or Paul or Michelle or whoever you're going to meet, and then go to private events with them. I don't I don't live on the online community because I think it's too strenuous, but I know a lot of people do. That's a whole different discussion. But you did bring up a point that I got it. There's a question in
Yeah,
here. What about have you found anybody through your experience in these last couple of years that's become not just a really good supportive group, but maybe started mentoring you through the scene or have
no,
helped you in ways?
no, nope. When I first joined, I went to a few local munches. They were not my scene. I did try. Um, I've been invited to fetish party, obviously like a local a local owner of of a sex club out here reached out to me at one point and was like, just come, I'll give you a private tour, you'll be comfortable. I'm not comfortable exploring without a partner because I am monogamous by nature. So I'm not gonna walk into a sex club, say like trapeze, who people who live down here know what it is. I'm not gonna fuck a random in front of 22 people. It's never gonna be who I am. I am definitely a one-on-one, and I firmly believe that, which is bizarre, and that's another thing, like being monogamous and being into the lifestyle somehow I think for a lot of people doesn't go hand in hand. But I have yet to meet somebody that was like, let me be your friend. N- you
Really?
know, not fucking once, not once. And I've made friends, I've made good friends, but I've never met a guy local to me that was like, let's grab coffee, let's discuss. Like what? No, because I think it's awful, but it all comes down to like they want to get their fucking dick sucked. So I mean, it's the
I
truth
don't.
though.
I like to be people. That's all. Like after the fact. Don't even get me started
I
on the
like
whole
to get
BDSM.
you, but
Look,
I can't.
BDSM and sex aren't. I'm going to say this again for the like 7 millionth time. BDSM and sex aren't synonymous. Whether you negotiate it in is fine, but I've done hundreds of scenes in my life, probably not near 1,000, but that's probably a stretch. Let's just say hundreds, and none of those that I can recall, for the exception of intimate partners involve sex, because then we did the sex afterwards. Sex for me takes away from a scene. If I'm doing a scene, I'm doing a scene, and I want to be present. But that's a pulpit preach thing, and maybe I'm gatekeeping BDSM, but that's okay. I don't mind.
No, so it's funny that you mentioned this because I have always thought about BDSM and sex being one, right? And I live in a romantic mind. So like love and lust, it 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 literally is, I don't want to say all I think about, but it's always there. When I listen to music, whatever it might be, that's where I live. And I realized recently, and this is a really big thing for me, that you asked me like how I got involved with it, and I said I met this guy on Tinder and we had this awesome dynamic, and it was on and off for like 2 years, and then it stopped. And then I recently saw him last week, and I had this revelation that like I never understood it prior because I didn't really understand BDSM. But when we were together and he would do these little things for me, like run me a bath or wash my feet, whatever it might be, make me coffee, um I always thought that it was his romantic interest in me. And then like a light bulb went off, like when we were together last time, that it wasn't romance, it was aftercare. And that's something I never really understood.
That's interesting. Aftercare is a big source of. It's a very interesting topic. While the only part about that I will always say about aftercare is it's not a requirement. You got to negotiate it in if you want it. If you do, great. If it's because aftercare doesn't work for everybody. Some people
Right,
don't
but
want
when
it.
two people don't know what they're doing,
Oh,
right,
sure.
then
Well, I'll say this: if there's two of you who have no clue what you're doing about
right.
BDSM, you shouldn't be doing BDSM in the first place, right? That's like going out and grabbing, jumping on a combine,
Well, is
and
it
going to.
BDSM? Like, is me getting fisted BDSM, or is that just getting fisted? I'm being honest.
I would say that's more of a sexual activity. I don't see any. There's nothing inherent about that. That's to me. That's what's the scene.
The
I know
scene,
that's gonna upset some people, but the reality
it's
is, what's the
okay.
scene?
The
And
scene,
and
there's no romance. We don't kiss. We don't we don't there's no we don't talk, we don't text, there's nothing there. Like we
sure.
only like set an appointment, like we confirm, I go to his house, and it was like that for like 2 years. But again, I didn't understand it, right?
No, I
So
understand.
it was to me it was dating. And to him he probably felt the same, but it was that's my whole point. It was like a revelation. Like it had nothing to do with like feelings or what I felt for him or what he felt for me. It was literally just it was a scene.
No, I understand that. I think see, everybody's going to have a different idea of what a scene is. I come from definitely a different era of what scening was, because I've been doing this. I've been involved in the community for a little over 25 years now, so half my life, and um, I have different ideas. It's not to say somebody isn't doing something, but I think there's got to be a setup. There's what's the power exchange, because the primary functioning of DS is the exchange of power. You're freely giving it up, and they're freely taking it. If you're just like coming over and he's like, "Hey, it's Tuesday. Let's watch some TV while I fist you," I don't really think that's a
It's
scene.
not like that though. It,
Okay,
it,
no, no,
it
no. I'm just more like I'm
yeah.
not saying it was. I'm just saying if that's kind of if that's the setting we're in, that's probably not. But if you're just talking about it and you're like, I maybe want to be suspended while we're doing this, and with the blindfold on, and you're working through all of these different stages, sure, I think then you're conducting a scene. I think then you're really kind of getting to the crux of what you do and what we do in the lifestyle. But I'm not here to say what you're doing or what you're not doing isn't. Of course, we can pass judgment, but I'm that's that's a different story because we all pass judgment. So, um, yeah, for each person, I think it's going to be a little bit different. But have you started attending? Now in these past 2 years, as your knowledge base has started to grow, have you started attending any classes or anything like that?
No, should
All
I?
right. Well, that's a next question, Chris.
No, because I think that's my issue is I don't want to go solo. Like I have a very hard time doing things on my own. And I would be the first to say that. Like I'm not comfortable. I don't feel and it's not that I'm shy, I don't
You shy? No, never.
I just don't want to venture into it alone. And like all I've been looking for is someone that will um get my personality, get my kinks, get what I want to fucking explore, and be like,
Sure.
I'm down for it. And like, let's be open and honest, and like, let's fucking do this.
Right.
And it feels like the most impossible feat at this point. Like, everyone is always like, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, you're so fucking beautiful. You're so this. You're so that. I mean, my fucking inbox is gross. Like, but like, no one is ever like, oh, let's actually like go grab a drink, have a conversation. It's always just like, I want to fuck you. Your tits are amazing. And the worst part is it's either usually like 30-year-olds or like 60-year-olds. And that's another thing that I think that
Shout out to the 60 and 30-year-olds out there who listen. Not us 50-year-olds, because we're nice and reserved and we
I
don't say
that's the
terrible things
problem
like that.
though with our age is like
What do you mean problem with my age? I'm damn good in my
I
interactions.
don't think your age wants to be with my age. That's the problem.
No, that's
I
because you
think
all have way too much baggage for us to deal with. I want
see,
the nice,
you
supple,
just said
fresh,
it.
fresh 18, because I'm a predator. That's the fun one I always hear. First
Literally.
off, no, I've been with somebody for a very long time. I don't want to go on the dating scene. I think that is
You would,
fear.
Chris, you would fucking kill yourself.
No, I wouldn't, because I know the difference is I know what I want and I'm very direct, and I'm also respectful. I don't play the games these other people play. I also don't feed into people that are not authentic in my view, so I don't pursue them. There was a very there is a was a person years ago that I thought she was absolutely stunning, and I loved her art or her photographs. She is in Europe. I'm just going to leave it at that. Very popular. Uh, yeah, but the reality is
Europe
that
is pretty broad.
I know, but it keeps me safe because I'm not going to mention the country they're in. And um, beautiful, stunning, gorgeous, love the imagery. But yeah, the reality is that I was only here over time to pump up the numbers to eventually move over to monetize. There was no interaction. There wasn't anything with that. And that's cool that you do you. I'm fine with that. So I still approach that conversation of, I very nice. I see we have some stuff in common. Cool. But the reality is that's fine. And I don't have any more interactions with that person. There's nothing wrong with that. However they want to do those things. But I know now when I look at young men, young women trying entering the dating world that there is a lot of issues with it, and I see these struggles in their mental health. I hear from a lot of young men. I want to open the door. I want to buy. I want to pay for dinner. But then she gets mad because I can open the door because
God,
they'll
it's
hear.
yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah. Oh, I can do it myself, and it's like
Yeah,
it's about
I
being
have
polite.
one
But
of
the
my
same. Go ahead.
I know no, well, one of my closest friends, like one of my best friends, actually is 31, and she's also single. And I have friends that are 56. Like the amount of single people, especially down here in South Florida, is wild. Like it's almost insane that
Shout
women
out to Florida.
shout out to South Florida, you dirty
Yeah.
fucking creepy motherfuckers.
Yes,
No.
I know of your dating scene. I know quite a few people. I have a lot of people. Shout out to Florida. That
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful state. I used to live in Georgia, so
Okay, it's
yeah,
beautiful, but just don't be single because
yeah. Well,
all the men are married basically, or have 16 girlfriends and
of
STD.
course. Well, everybody's poly now, right? That's the thing because apparently it's the new thing, and poly's never been around
Is it
ever in the
poly?
history
Is
in
it
the
poly? Is
world.
it E&M? Like, what is it? Or is it just that you're fucking other women and you don't tell the women
Well,
that
I
you're
don't think it.
fucking that
Well,
you're
hold
fucking
on.
other
Let's not
women?
just blame the guys on that one. Let's not just blame the men because there are women who like to be poly and have multiple relationships. That goes both ways. So I'm not going to discriminate because,
No, I would not commit to a man like unless I knew I was ready to like. I get it. I get that. I do get that. But you're talking about people that have full blown relationships
oh, sure, sure.
and
I don't even
still
want to look.
dating.
I don't want to attack the poly community because I'm already going to be doing that in a future episode again. I did that last year. That went over like a ton of bricks, but I stand by what I said because I ripped the shiny veneer off that one. I don't actually have a problem with poly, and I just spoke about poly this last week where I talked about new people entering
Yeah,
poly.
I listened to it.
Yeah, look, there. I think there's a lot of things that people don't understand going into it, and the numbers don't lie. 50 million people trying poly, and 42 million relationships fail. There's a reason why there's a high failure rate. Again, nobody talks about it. That's fine. Not. It is what it is. If you want to explore that life, the best to you. But I think it's going to keep creating a lot of single people.
I think you
And
be the most selfless person to allow the partner that you love to be with somebody else. Like, uh, that's, and again, maybe it's my old school mentality, but like, I'm a jealous fuck. And,
sure, I understand that.
and not only do I not want to share you, but, but I feel like with a man and he was like, I want you to date, I would feel like, well, then you don't love me. Honestly.
Fair enough. I mean, look, I'm not against it. I have really good friends that are in the poly lifestyle. They've been that way for, 15, 18 years, and it works for them, and they work really hard at solidifying their relationship, and that's fine. I look, again, everybody can live their life how they want.
I
I
said
think it's
it's very selfless. It's
to each their own, though. As whether I agree or disagree, that's more personal. I mean, I couldn't do it because I have similar feelings to you. I don't like the
yeah.
sharing aspect, but I do understand. I do understand why some others do. Because committing can be difficult, or finding the right person, or we're not comfortable in the dating world yet. So poly kind of gives us a little bit of that leeway, and that's okay. If you explore it, some people love it, and some other people don't. It's like going to a nudist colony. Not everybody's comfortable being nude, and some people are. But, we don't know until we try some of these things. Not everybody loves BDSM. Not everybody commits to BDSM. And there are different levels of BDSM.
Hell yeah.
And that's okay, which is going to give me something about that I wanted to talk to you about self-discovery, especially before we get into your groups, your ethical your ethical cunts group, because I am
Okay.
dying to talk about that one.
Okay.
But first, I want for you, and I'm going to give you a couple minutes to talk about this because I think it's really kind of important,
Okay.
and I think because a lot of people agree or at least have a similar view on what you're going to say. How have you really? How has exploring BDSM kind of impacted your whole sense of self and your giving you a bigger or broader perspective on your own desires?
I think that I have become 1,000% comfortable in my own skin. Um, I'm not skinny. I don't love certain parts of my body, but there are things about me that I personally find quite attractive. That would be the start of it. Is like loving yourself, because how can you be naked and vulnerable in front of somebody if you don't love yourself, right? So that's probably the start. And I do see a lot of women out there accepting themselves for who they are, and I think it's beautiful. I think that my life in itself has been really hard, and I never really got to explore anything that I ever wanted to. And honestly, like, I just want to open myself up to feeling good and looking good and experiencing pleasure and making somebody else feel good. And it's like my ultimate probably turn on in the world is to have somebody desire me, but then I want to desire them the same way back. So like I'll give you an example. Like I don't like oral, I don't like receiving, and I don't like giving it. Like it's just something I don't enjoy. But like if I am completely like into you, like I'll suck your dick to the fucking heavens. But like I'm not one of those that's just gonna like I know myself. Like I know who
So you don't have an oral fixation.
I don't know, I smoke cigarettes every now and then, I vape. I
That's a different type of an addiction.
have an
So
oral
we're not I'm not I'm not talking about that kind of addiction. That's
Uh,
completely different.
no, and it's so funny because like over the summer I was with all my girlfriends from like high school. We went out to dinner one night. We were talking about like sex and shit. And like when we were growing up, like oral was like not a big thing, like giving or receiving. And this is like the 90s, let's say, right? Like I graduated high school like 1993. So
God, I graduated a year before you.
uh, comrades. So it wasn't like a big thing, like blowjobs, or even maybe blowjobs more than like boys didn't go down on girls. It was not something.
Oh no, that was odd. It's because we were all awkward and didn't really know what we were doing.
Right, but that's how we grew. So now, like when I like meet a guy, even on like a fucking vanilla dating site, and they're like, "I want to go down on you for 2 hours," I'm like, "Fucking kill me! Like, what am I gonna do for 2 hours? I don't want someone down there for 2 hours. I like I like to explore it all. I'm a sensualist, so like I would rather make out for 3 hours in a fucking car and just be passionate and just all of that. I don't want to sit on somebody's face. It's not my thing. I think I don't know that, and that's just me.
I
But
understand.
I don't know. Oral was not something that was introduced to me in my life, I should say. So it's not something I run to. Not that I don't enjoy it and not that I haven't, but
Sure.
it's not my go-to. Let's just say that.
No, look, again, it's like the lifestyle. It's some people are going to like rope, or other people are going to like needles or religious play or whatever. There's always going to be things
What's
inside of
religious?
our.
What's religious play?
Oh God, you need to go get that BDSM education. Okay. In short, religious play is dressing up like a priest or a nun, or using things like chastity
I mean, I'm
devices.
Jewish. Do I have to wear a yarmulke?
I don't know on that one, but interesting enough, I'm actually looking at what BDSM looks like in the Middle East, so I will let you know. I've been talking to people in Egypt and Saudi Arabia, some people from Israel, Lebanon, all over the world, because I'm very curious about.
Oh, I would love to know. Yeah, I've been with a few Israeli men, and they are fucking tough motherfuckers. Like
That's interesting. I would not know what that's like because you know,
I know,
I don't
but
like men.
they are stern and quite aggressive, and yeah, they are yeah.
You haven't met Germans yet, then. I'm telling you right now, or the Hungarians, or the Czechoslovakians. Shout out to my people on that side of the world who listen to the show. I'm representing you right now. Yes, brutality,
This conversation
forcefulness.
has turned so funny.
or
All
some
right.
of the Vikings. Don't let's not forget the Vikings, right? They are brutal.
Oh, I'm gonna give a shout out to my friend Thor because he's a fucking Viking and he's awesome.
So
You
with
want to talk
all of this
about ethical
new,
cunts?
yes. So with all of this exploration you're doing, and you have, do you understand? First, I want to actually, do you actually understand the concept of a house?
Um.
I'm going to take that as a no.
Well, I think I understood what it was previously before it became popular. Yes.
Okay. What does a house in BDSM terms mean to you?
Well, that's the whole problem. I don't think it has anything to do with BDSM anymore. I think it's about popularity, right? So,
Are you talking about ethical cunts, or are you talking about houses in general?
a good amount of houses on FetLife have nothing to do with BDSM. I think a good amount of people on there have no clue what BDSM is.
I would probably say that a good 80% of the people on that website don't really understand
Right.
what
Correct.
have a fundamental understanding. It's not about alienation, but let's just be realistic. Very few people go to educational events. They don't go to any demonstrations. They don't go to munches. Are okay. That's fine. But any type of interaction with the lifestyle outside of the online platform, I don't consider people BDSM that only partake. That I don't consider people lifestyle that only partake in learning about the lifestyle online and then stay only online and they do nothing else. Because then I have three standard questions I tend when I'm getting to know somebody. I ask them. The first question I always ask is, how long have you been in the lifestyle? I don't frame it kink, lifestyle, because it's the way I lead mine. Military background, law enforcement background, so it really helps because I'm involved in high protocol. So I enjoy that aspect. I love the rules. Get that answer, take that answer by itself. Second, then I always ask, do you have any, you've been to any events, demonstrations, any of the conventions? Do you do that? I do take into account people's privacy and maybe nerves or not wanting to go by themselves. I get that. And then finally, I ask about mentors. Do they find somebody that maybe, which is, it's gotten more difficult because a lot less people want to mentor now. I
So in your
stopped about,
eyes, I'm not part of it because
no,
I
I would,
answer.
well, no, so there's a difference. I would probably say you're more kinky than lifestyle. Lifestyle is something you're doing. You need to be a part of it. You have to, and that's more of my opinion based on what I do. I go to events. I'm involved in scenes, public and private. I'm very active in the community in my part of this world. And then I will give talks in other communities, or I'll help. I go to demonstrations because I'm really curious. I saw a brilliant fire play demonstration not too long ago, and I absolutely loved it because I was involved in fire play a very long time ago in my life, but it's not something I'm overly familiar with again. I've kind of forgotten how to do it. So this event was on and I went. So I'm actually participating in part of the community and watching people do things. Personal interactions, which are to me more raised, it's fine. We can do stuff at home, but I'm going to give you the analogy I use all the time. If I just call myself a car mechanic, does it actually make me a mechanic? No. I can open up a shop and I can claim I can fix a car. That doesn't mean I'm actually going to fix it. I might get lucky and change some oil, but when it gets to something more difficult or convoluted, I'm not going to do it. And more than likely, I'm going to screw it up and cause some harm. So I use that when I speak with dominants who say, I'm a Dom, and then I ask them those questions, and they have no training. They don't want to get trained. They don't want to read any books. They've never been to an event.
Right.
Well, then
They want a
how,
Christian Grey. Well,
right,
maybe I'm Anastasia Steele. Who fucking knows?
possibly.
You know.
But the only difference is that you're at least actively trying to figure things out. So when you ask me that question, you could be where I would say you're no longer not beginner, you're moving into that intermediate stage where you're starting to understand there's something deeper here that you're attracted to. It's
Yeah.
innate inside of you. I understand that I can resonate with. But if you just told me, yeah, I want to rock over to Joe's, um, I'm going to eat some Cheetos while he fists me. Pretty much, no, that's not BDSM to me. You're just
You
having
know
some
you
weird.
can't eat fucking Cheetos while you're getting fisted, right?
You know what? How do you know? You know what? Challenge. There you go. And I'll wait for you to say challenge accepted because I don't know. And then you can make a whole scientific study. We laid out Cheetos, Cheez-Its, and Doritos. Which was the easiest to consume
I
while
will
being fisted?
guarantee you the only thing going in my mouth while I'm getting fisted is his dick. Like 1,000%. It ain't a Cheeto or a Dorito or a burrito.
You
I
don't
don't.
know. It might be just as good. It might even be more fulfilling. You don't know, right? You can't say no unless you've tried it. But what I am saying is at least you're starting to put in some more effort. So the one concerted thing that I look for with a lot of people coming into the lifestyle, and then people start asking me, they come back and say this to me, who made you the arbiter? I'm not an arbiter. I do gatekeep certain things. Why? Because for people who want to get up or a part of the groups that I belong to, the things that I do, you have to have a certain level of experience. We're not going to take new people in who are like, I'm just kind of exploring. That's great. Go explore. But because some of the people I hang out with are very hardcore sadists. I mean, they electrocute people and set them on fire or drive nails through genitals.
Right, but
That's
like that's the thing though. You guys have had years and years to do
sure.
this.
But we
And then
still
you're talking
participate, though. We still get out and get active with others and
but then
share
you're
some of that
talking about
knowledge.
someone like me that is only maybe 2 years in
But you're
and
still curious, right? And you want that curiosity to grow, right?
100 fucking percent.
There you go. So you have the desires there, which means you're putting in some effort. It may now, I will agree, it might be difficult for you to find somebody to connect with, but you're trying and the pursuit is hard. I mean, okay, great. First recommendations, look for some dungeons in your area. Yeah, okay, you don't want to go with somebody else? Try to maybe make somebody you're gonna have to maybe bridge a gap. Maybe go to a munch, try to find another submissive or whatever range you identify in, and talk with them and get comfortable, and then go to a class, or maybe just go to a class or a convention. Those pop up on occasion,
Yeah,
and
there's like
try
a
it.
weekend convention. I don't want to go alone. Like, I just don't want to go alone. I think that's my biggest fear. Is that
But
you can
how are you going to meet somebody? How do you get
I
over a
I don't
fear?
want to even have to want to go with a man. I'm just saying
Who do you want to go with?
I'll go with
There's
a
not a
man.
whole lot of options left if you don't want to go with you don't want to go by yourself, but you don't want to go with a guy. So who do you want to go with?
I don't know. I just don't want to go alone.
So
I
pretty
I
much
I,
you're
I
either
have
going
been
with somebody who's non-binary or a woman.
I've been with a woman, like a friend.
Okay, right?
Um,
So now to make a friend, what do we have to do? We have to introduce ourselves to people. We actually have to talk and be social.
which I think I'm pretty social.
I would probably agree with that statement.
Yes.
Absolutely. You also have to take a little bit of a chance and put some trust out there if you want to meet somebody you can get along with that you can try. I know it's a scary premise. God, I feel like I'm all of a sudden in a therapy session now. But
I just did therapy on Friday, man.
yeah, so all right, so we're not going to go that route. But the reality is, with this, it can be scary. I remember my first convention was at in Atlanta, and it actually happened to be right around. I got kind of lucky; it was right around the corner from my house. So I bought tickets. It was like I spent like $50, got for the whole weekend. Um, I was super nervous to go the first night. Like I didn't know what to wear, I didn't know what to do, or like I knew if went there, I was going to just keep my mouth shut, say nothing. Ended up not going Friday. I went like a Saturday afternoon, and I instantly had regrets because I'd missed out on some cool panel discussions on some stuff, which was super interesting. And then that night, if you bought tickets for the weekend, you went to the local dungeon, which became where I loved going for a long time in Atlanta, which was 1763, which is now closed down. But uh, yeah, you know, yeah, we have to take a little bit of a chance. We have to do these things to put ourselves out there because otherwise we don't meet anybody. And I did. I got really lucky. I went to the dungeon that night and I met a couple people, and I just admitted, yes, I was new and it was just all new to me. And I was still I think I framed it. I was still exploring at the time
And
and I
it's
was looking to learn.
it's nerve wracking. Let's be honest. Like, it's nerve wracking.
But are you more worried about being judged?
No.
Okay, then what is it?
My
Why is
nervous
it nerve wracking?
my nervousness comes from just the unknown. I think it makes
You
me.
post pictures online of you and yourself and your body, and that doesn't bother you.
That took me a while too, though.
Yes, but
I
you
mean,
are more free online to do. You do that now, like you're giving away bread to the
yeah,
poor.
because it is anonymous. Like,
To an extent,
no one knows me.
they don't know your story. They don't know where you come from.
They don't know me. Like,
I understand. I was making a light joke of it.
no one sat in a bar and had a glass of wine with me. Well, maybe a few people, but you know, it's it feels very freeing and exhibitionate. It's not the same, so that's a whole nother level of uh you know of like ripping away a layer that I'm afraid to at
That's
times.
fine. But you know
Yeah.
what? You're gonna go at a pace that you're gonna end up being comfortable with. And that's the reality. You go at your pace. Maybe if it takes you another year before you really break into the scene,
Yeah.
that's okay. You could, conversely, there are really good books out there. There are a lot better sites than just. There are other sites that have really good information that are out there, and you can explore those, and you can read. So that's where on your
I do read and I listen to podcasts. Like, I'm I know like what my path is.
okay,
It's just I'm not sure if it's going to happen right now
okay,
because
fair
of my
enough.
situation with my children. So it's just like I know where I'm eventually going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Um it might not happen immediately,
Sure.
but I know where I want it to go. Um I'm not one to jump into anything with 2 feet. That's not who I am. I know a local girl that like joined in like the last 6 months, and literally the shit that she's gone through makes me fucking cringe because she did jump into everything blind and got
So,
her
I mean, then that poses a good question. If you're new,
got
who's
herself involved with like shitty people and
sure?
shitty houses and shitty fucking men and enjoyed
Okay, but
all
so
this.
let me that poses a good. This is a very good question that I like to bring up. So, whose responsibility was it?
Both.
Well, the community itself, BDSM doesn't have any responsibility to teach people about BDSM.
The BDSM community in South Florida, if you've ever done research, is not good,
Oh,
and
I know. I'm very
that's why
familiar
I
with the
stay away
community
from
there. That's
because
why the
they're
North community, shout out to Jacksonville and some people who live up there, shout out to you all, because I know some Doms up there, is fantabulous. I understand very much about the South Florida
so why do you
community.
stay away from it? Like, I'm an observer, right? So like
Right.
I
You're a
watch.
voyeur.
Like, no, I am a people watcher. So,
I
well,
get
I
it.
guess it's a voyeur, but I watch like interactions. I see it all.
Sure.
And I know that like the quality of things down here are not good. There are users and abusers, and they're fucking shitty to the newcomers. And I'm not going to allow myself to get involved in that.
Sure.
So
Well, you
I
don't
have
have to though.
purposely
You're an
stayed
adult making a
away.
choice though. That's the thing. We all have choice. When I talk about responsibility, first off, if I'm entering something new, if I'm going to go and join a sports team and I know nothing about that team, is it the responsibility of those people that for me to go join it and not know shit and them teach me everything or me to look it up? Sure, the team can have some once I join, but the reality is there is an onus on us. Personal responsibility is one thing that I see quite often that's sure not just on FetLife, but in the community as a whole. We don't really, oh, I'm new, I shouldn't have done this. Well, that's right. Spend some time. But there is a fast food mentality. It doesn't just permeate the lifestyle, that just permeates everything. I want it now. I want it my way, and I want to, I'm going to take it. And then it doesn't never goes to that. Never seems to work. I remember writing something a long time ago. Why BDSM didn't fail you? You failed BDSM. And I wrote that because so many people come into the lifestyle, they haven't they have a fantasy, and that the reality doesn't live up to the fantasy. And
Right.
then they
It's
blame
again,
BDSM.
it's the 50 Shades of Grey syndrome. It is.
Right.
It's the idea of, well, for me at least, at first, it was like, I'm gonna be this man. He's gonna fucking want me. I'm gonna want him. He's gonna fucking teach me. We're gonna fall in love, and that's whole. And then it's so for me, what I'm learning is to how to separate
Fantasy from
the
reality.
romance factor of it. Yes,
Sure.
you
Because the
know.
reality of this lifestyle, it's a lot of work. If you're a dominant, you have to put in a lot of effort, especially if you have a submissive, depending where you are in the relationship and the dynamic itself. In the first
Gee,
few months, you
are
could,
there really any true dominants around though anymore? Because
well,
honestly,
you have to
I feel like
then
it's all
define the, then you have to start defining what are true dominants. If you're going to ask me about Fat Life and you want my unfettered opinion, no, there are some there, but they're usually already coupled up. They're already with somebody. They have
yeah,
no desire to be, I have no desire to go into the dating pool. None.
yeah.
None. I get on occasion, I definitely don't get as much as women, but on occasion I will get some sort of, are you looking? First off, I don't even entertain that question because my profile is strictly professional. I do not give out my private stuff. My private life is exactly that, my private life.
The thing
No
is though,
need.
what if you're not necessarily submissive? Like, I don't
But
have
then
that.
all of those things need to be explored. Fine. You can look at FetLife as a resource. There is some resourceful stuff there. So there's great things to understand about roles. What is a switch? What's a bottom, sub, slave, master, dom, daddy dom, and so on and so forth. Tops. All of this terminology. The best place to start is start understanding what that all means, and then where does it apply to us, and then maybe what do we want. You want a relationship potentially with a dominant man or a dominant individual that will potentially do a 1950s style household, if I'm guessing about right from things you said.
Yeah,
Perfect. There are a lot of people who fit that,
yes.
but the reality is that a lot of people who are already in that are already coupled up. The
Right.
others, when I tell, this is where I do rag on, I don't try to rag on dominance too much, but the majority of the guys that I do see, and yes, I will agree, they have a couple of cool words, they say a couple of cool things, and they get people believing, but they have no practical experience. They don't even, again, they don't want to learn. They don't want to get a mentor. They don't want to go to clubs. They don't want to go to trainings. They don't want to do anything but ultimately spank some ass and have some sex. That is not BDSM. It's kinky sex, and it will only ever be kinky sex. It's not a lifestyle. A dominant, I have to lay out, weekly trainings, check ins. I lay out what somebody's going to be doing, what they're learning, how it's going to work towards our dynamic, what it's going to apply in the future. Start setting up a scene. I have to then plan that scene out. We have to discuss the scene, safety, risk, and all the things that are involved. That's the level of where I'm at. However, both people have to understand what all of those things mean. And I see it with a lot of people. It's not about that anymore. And you're right. So a lot of people look at FetLife as a dating site, and that's okay. That's not the intention of it, but that's what it's used for. That's fine if people do. But I think the reality is, so people coming there thinking that they're going to just find this thing. If you don't have any knowledge of what you're looking for, let alone what your role is going to be, you're not going to find your counterpart. So if you want a 1950s style household and life, and you want a dominant that fits that, and that your part of the world isn't necessarily delivering that right now, well, spend some time, dive into it, get really involved in that community. Maybe just, if you don't want to go to, if going out to, I can understand it can be overwhelming going to munches or demonstrations. Join one of the local communities. There are community groups on there. Talk to them about it. Maybe connect with somebody. Then you have to ask yourself, what if I do meet something, if I meet Carlos, who lives in Belgium, but he totally fits everything I'm looking for, and he's willing to work at my pace. Maybe
But
we'll
I did that.
arrange.
I did that. I met somebody. I met somebody that I thought was perfect for me, and I did 7 months, and I literally committed it, like committed myself
Sure.
100%. Like this was it for me, and I got completely fucked. So now I'm even more pessimistic in like my search, I should say.
I understand, but I you can't put all the onus on everything you want on the other person that you're looking for, because then that same question is going to come back. What work are you doing? If I ask you those questions, and even if we're a complete match and 100%, baby bird syndrome is a thing here, and that goes both ways. When I've worked with dominance in the past and I was mentoring, everything was just regurgitated to me. Tell me everything you know. I can't do that. Not even gonna. I don't even want to do that. Here's a reading assignment. Go read, and then tell me what you get out of it. It's like
Yeah,
we're in
it
school.
wasn't like that though. It was literally just a very natural, like this is what it is. I can't even explain it. Like it was just it just felt like this was everything that we both were looking for, and we were like ready to commit to it, and we did. And then
Okay.
it was like, okay, you know, this might be too much. And I was like, okay, well, I said that like 2 months in, 3 months in, 4 months in, like I brought it up all the time, like this can't work or this won't work. And I kept on getting reassured, like we're good, we're good, we're good. And then all of a sudden it was like, I was thinking, you know, that was like a kick to the fucking stomach. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
I understand that, but again, then we are. It's like any other relationship. A relationship is 50-50. We're still both responsible for how that relationship turns out. If you felt that it wasn't working and that you weren't being, heard, and that you were being more trying to be convinced than understood.
but I don't think you see it when you're in it. And I think that was the whole point of when I wrote that whole piece about it was like, when you're in it, you're so blindsided by the glory of it that you don't want to look at the things that make you say, oh, fuck. Right? That's in any relationship.
Possibly. Sure. Well, yeah, absolutely. That's the best way to phrase it. That's any relationship. But I mean, in the end, that's why I end up working with a lot of couples and people that break up or they're questioning things in their life. I totally understand all of that. I think there
I should
is.
have left my ex-husband when I was pregnant with my son, and that was like 11 years ago. And I was like, we can make this work. I mean, it's just, it's,
Marriage is something different. I will say that. I think marriage is, for the exception of abuse, um, if you're having marital issues like non-communication or emotional shutdowns, you have to first questions you have to always ask yourself is, do I want to stay married? Is my autonomy worth more to me than being married? Can I stay in this relationship and be healthy? If the answer to that is no, then anything else after that is totally moot. You've made your decision. But
you,
if the
you
if the
literally just,
marriage is worth
you,
fighting for, you have to fight
yeah,
for it.
well, you hit the nail on the head. It's when you're not healthy, then you realize like this is not going to work.
Sure, sure. And that does take time for us to realize. That's not an overnight thing. I don't see that overnight with, I have clients that are going through tough situations with breakups or trying to decide which way they want to go in their life. And they're big decisions. But ultimately, also, if you're faced with a big decision, there is usually a time limit on those decisions because, especially if there's somebody else involved, they're not going to necessarily wait for an answer. And they may end the relationship, or they may say, hey, you know what? Screw it. We're not going to get married. I've been sitting here waiting for an answer for 6 months and you haven't decided yet. That's fine. That enough of itself is an answer to me, or whatever the case may be. The reality is that we still have to take a little bit of ownership on ourselves. We all need time to process. I'm not saying process time is not important. We just then have to communicate then that too. Hey, I need to process some of this. This is overwhelming for me. I feel overwhelmed. That is a perfectly allotted statement anyone can say. It's perfectly worded. I feel overwhelmed. I need some time. Cool. How much time do you need until I don't feel overwhelmed? The other person, conversely, can sit around, wait for an answer, or decide not to. There's nothing we can do about it. We don't hold people hostage. Marriage is the only thing I think, if you're going to enter marriage, you got to be willing to ask yourself, am I willing to fight for this or not? Is it what I thought it was?
Oh, I fought down to the fucking bone,
Well, there you go. You gave it
and
all your,
I
you gave
walked
it
away,
your all.
and I walked away knowing that I still know to this day I gave him 1,000% of myself every day, every fucking day. So,
Huh. All right, so let's get back to the ethical cunts discussion. How did you start that up?
so I met Lady Cacti. I'm not sure how, but we had a great, like, you know, banter and shit, and we ended up exchanging numbers, and we would talk, and um, there's plenty of houses on there on FET, but there are a few that are very popular, let's say, right? Like they have like 5 to 10,000 followers, and
Yeah,
right.
I know.
Okay. So we were like, okay, why don't we just start one for like shits and giggles? I'm like, let's make it fun. It wasn't about popularity. It wasn't about any of that. It was just like me and her had the same mind frame about certain things, and we agreed on a lot, and we took it on as like, I'm not going to say a joke because it wasn't a joke. We took it seriously, but as a place for people to just have a giggle and
Sure.
enjoy themselves. So we started it. Um I didn't realize it would have so much backlash. Like, I was
Why?
shocked.
What was the backlash that? Why? I guess that's where I'm confused.
Um Other houses. So like, say your username is like Joe Schmo, and you're a member of one house, and then you join another house, then you're involved in two. So then the original house that you were a part of basically was like, fuck you. You can't be a part of my house if you're a part of Ethical Cunts. And they removed them and then sent them like a personal message, like, like a fuck you message, basically. Like, you can't be a part of my house if you're a part of their house. And it
Right.
and it wasn't like one person, it was like probably a good 40 to 50, maybe 60. And this was when we just started. Like, we maybe had 100 followers. And that was in like our first week. And it was pretty fucking toxic because, again, like, it was never meant to be negative. And then to have all these people, and people that know me, and they know who I'm talking, the other house that I'm talking about will understand. It was like, you can't be inclusive and happy and love everybody and then tell them who they could be friends with, right? Like, I have friends that are friends with people that I'm not friends with, and it's okay, right? Like, we don't all have to get along, but you also don't have to like be a dick about it either. And that's basic.
Did you miss that memo about the inclusive, non-inclusive crowd?
I didn't think that it was as real as it fucking was until I was literally, my inbox was getting blown the fuck up by people that were mortified that they got personal messages saying, you can't be a part of my house if you're a part of Ethical Cunts. That's basically what it was. Even my ex-boyfriend got a message saying, good luck with your girl and good luck with your house. Like, it was wild. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what the fuck? And then me and this girl had our own personal history that went back like a year prior. So it was just a very, um, I've been bullied the fuck on there, and not just by her. I want to say I hit like 7,000 followers, and I wrote like a little piece. I don't do challenges. I'm not into that. I don't tag people. I fucking hate people that tag people for popularity to get followers. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. I literally
Hmm.
started my account. I didn't post or fucking tag a person. Like, I gained my followers on my own by interacting, by being kind, by developing relationships and friendships. So
And sharing nudes.
I don't show news. I've never showed my pussy or my asshole or anything like that.
Well, yeah, but they don't need you.
I just might show a tit every now and then.
You know what, though? You give a man a saltine cracker who hasn't eaten in 30 days. It's the best cracker he's ever had in his life.
Exactly. You show them the nipple. You don't need that's girls. You don't need to show them the puss. That's my whole point. Just show them a little nip and they'll be happy. My point is, I did what I did on my own, and I never tagged anybody or did anything to gain what I gained. And then
Right.
it was like this whole backlash about the house, and it was just so brutal. So anyway, so I when I hit 7,000, I wrote like a little thing, and I said that I was proud of myself, that like I kept my integrity, and I never compromised who I was, and I never, felt uncomfortable with what I shared. I never showed myself in a sexual, eh, you know, acts. I never, sucked a dick for fucking camera. I never showed my pussy, whatever it might be. And I said, like, you
Right.
can gain followers different ways.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be like, sorry, I'm choking. It doesn't have to be like, shoving a butt plug up your ass. Like, there's other ways. And a very popular user that has like over 80,000 fucking followers took, I don't know why, personal. She took what I wrote very hardly and wrote a disgusting fucking thing about me for, again, 80,000 fucking followers. I had 7,000, and they all fucking destroyed me in comments and shit. And I was like, what am I doing wrong here? Like, why can't I be me? And why is everyone so fucking pissed off at me all the time? Because I'm smart? Because I have a brain? Because I have an opinion? Because I'm pretty? Because I should. Like, what is it? Why am I hated so much? It's.
Well, don't forget modest.
I am modest, though. That's the thing. Like,
I know. I hear the modesty resonating all over the place today.
if you ask
Total modesty.
if you ask anybody that I communicate with, and I talk to a lot of people,
Right.
I'm completely not a douche in any sense of the word. I say thank.
Listen, first off, as far as the whole followers thing, I don't even want to hear it. I'm barely, not that I pay a lot of attention. I looked the other day. I think I just hit like 1,800 or 1,900. I've been on here for years writing and helping. I don't show any nipples. I don't put my junk out there, right? Because what I do, I take what I do for a living seriously. I don't agree with when other therapists that are on that website um, put their personal profiles connected to the professional ones, and or use their profiles to say, yeah, come if you need help, help me, or, I'll help you out. By the way, here's my junk, because you're destroying the bond that you're supposed to be creating in the first place. But
I
that's a different
agree.
story.
So that's the same thing about a house and a personal account. I don't ever join the two, and neither does Lady Cacti, right? Like, we have our own views,
Sure.
we're own accounts, and then Epic Accounts is just a fun place. Like, last night I was like, what's the saddest movie you've ever seen? Like, it's so laid back. We played Truth or Dare. It's not. It was really just a place for everybody to just
Yeah, be themselves. and
we
have some fun.
we don't accept tags. Like we don't tag kids.
I put it this way: you might need some water? This be a good moment to have a little sip of water there because you sound like you're struggling. I'll give you a quick moment here to kind of recover. So it doesn't sound like you're dying on midair. Like that would not be good for my show if you passed away. Not good.
I'm not dying.
Although I might get a bump in the ratings though. If I had somebody like pass away from choking on my show, I don't know. There's some sick people out there. No, I don't want that at all. As a matter of fact, look, I've worked for years. I don't do this for popularity. I write. I'm not very popular. I'm definitely not the most popular writer on there. I have 1,800 people who read what I write. Well, allegedly, I would probably say in reality, I have like about 100 people out of. You take all those big numbers and you reduce them
That's
down to the actual
that's
people.
the point. Like,
Yeah.
you know, with as many followers as you have,
Well, here's a. I know where you're going with that, and I'm going to
how
say it
many
this way.
people
So
do you
hold,
connect
hold
with?
on, catch your breath, catch your breath. And I'm going to say this so you get some water in you. I will say it to you this way. What ends up happening is that I look at somebody who's got 30, 50, 100,000, 600,000 followers, whatever it is on FetLife. And the cool thing is they put up a picture of their shiny new butthole, or they're like, cream me, daddy, or let me spank you, dirty girl, whatever they're going to do in these photos. And what happens next is that maybe the photo gets on occasion, if it's up there for a day, it gets like 2,000 likes, but its initial drop never gets really more than between 200 to let's say 700. And it might get a couple hundred comments. But if you base that on the fact that you have 300,000 followers and you're getting that little of a return, that's not even fractional. That means I get more engagement by having less people than you do with all of your people, and you're throwing that junk out there for the entire world. That's just me. I mean, I understand statistics. Most people, I think math is difficult, but that is a reality of it. And, a lot of people drop off that website. They sign up, they're up there for a day or two, and then they bail, and then their account goes stale, and those accounts stick around forever. But all of these things are these factors that people have there. And there are people, you are correct, there are bullies. I ran into somebody who thinks that they are the most popular writer in all of the African continent. And that became a huge challenge for me. Doesn't bother me. I don't care if they know who I'm talking about because I called them out on it. I also called them out on their writings and the things that they say and their bullying behavior and their little crowd who came at me and then their little spy. None of those things affect me because I'm not there for anybody. My job that I like to do is help people in the community and tell them how some of the things that they do that happen inside of trauma or mental health are normalized or how they feel and let it resonate. If I can help people, great. If people, at least people know that there's someone that's willing to listen and hear them, and that's makes it better for me. My primary job as far as therapy, I'm working with vets all day. So, that's where what makes me happy. It's what gets me up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning. But all these people that live and bully online, I don't really understand what the point is because see, these are supposed to be grown adults. And the reality is, and I'm going to say this definitively, is these are the same people that scream inclusivity that are the most exclusive people on the planet. And anybody who has big follower accounts, they need their queen or their little king to tell them one thing. And it's the same with the Taylor Swift syndrome, the Swifties. When they got mad at somebody throwing shade on somebody, I don't know who it was. I don't really know, but her users attacked some other singer and vice versa. It's stupidity.
It's
For
brutal.
what?
It's
Hmm.
brutal, and that's my whole point. Like, I don't really fuck with anybody. Like, I really do stay in my lane. I don't. Every now and then, am I gonna say something that I feel? Yeah,
It's
that's
controversial,
my
probably.
fucking prerogative. I told you earlier, I lived half a decade. If I have an opinion on something and I want to say it, then I'm gonna say it. But
Well,
someone,
sure.
someone,
We get back to earlier what I said to you. There is free speech. I mean, obviously, free speech has a limit, but you have the right to create a house and make a joke and have fun. If people get offended by that, well, that's not a you problem. That's a them problem, and they have to learn how to navigate that issue for themselves internally. But they don't. They externalize that, and they take those views out on other people in very harmful ways.
Ethical cons is fun and loving and literally like I don't feel one bad thing about it, and I know that she doesn't either. Like there
Well,
is
good.
a
You shouldn't. You don't have anything to apologize for.
no, I know that, but I'm just saying like someone said to me like um if someone is upset by something you have to say, it says more about them than it does you, right? So, like, if someone attacks you for something, so, okay, let me put it another way. If I make a random post about, like I've said it before, like, I think it was Christmas, and I was like, if I see one more candy cane up a fucking vagina, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. And like a lot of women laughed, and a lot of women were like, fuck you, I have a candy cane up my vagina. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't
Listen,
care. It was just a
I
fucking
I
opinion.
I write about trauma. Right. It's predominantly what I do. I'm a trauma therapist. It's predominantly what I write about. I get a lot of flack over it. That's not all trauma victims. I'm like, well, that's great, but I'm speaking about the majority and the statistical number of it. That's fun. It's not how I act. Well, that's fine. Then this post doesn't speak to you. Why are you here?
But it does. That's the whole point.
Oh, it
Is
does. It
that's the
absolutely.
whole
When we,
fucking point. They are
it right,
so
it's
offended by what you said,
sure,
but they
sure.
can't say that they're offended because it's them. And that's
Oh
my whole
well, look,
point.
I'm going to tell you, and you can take this advice for whatever, however it resonates with you. A long time ago, there was somebody I saw that I followed that put this thing up about, if you respond, these are kind of my rules for responding. And I'm like, well, that's kind of stupid. You've invited the conversation. You don't like how people respond, but you're going to say controversial shit, and then you don't want them to say anything. Fair enough. Fine, your page. About 5 months ago, 6 months ago, I wrote a couple pieces. I think I, just got sick and tired of 20 things wrong with men, 10 things wrong with men. All men suck. Men are the devil. Men are all rapists. I got sick and tired of this conversation. So I wrote 20 red flags in women. And absolutely, I was justified, totally justified to write that, because you know what? I'm not the only therapist on the planet that's ever written how many flags there are in women. But God forbid that I'm a man who's saying
Oh
this.
yeah, it's like the bear or the man in the woods.
Mm. The great part is then I started getting in my comment section was, well, these can apply to men as well. And I said, that's great, but I'm not talking about men. I'm speaking about women. Thank you for your comment. And that's all I kept repeating. And this fired people up and it got them really angry. Well, then I wrote kind of a follow up, I think a post to it over the weekend or a status message. And I was you know, in an internet battle or war and angry and upset all weekend. I realized at that moment
I get
that
that.
this person who wrote this thing years ago on their messages or on their posts why they did it. And then from that point moving forward, pardon me, from that point moving forward, I instituted this thing, and I said, you got to, communicate well, be articulate, be respectful, and be engaging, but don't come in and start. If you start being an asshole or start calling me names, or you don't know, telling me how wrong I am or whatever. First off, I'm probably not. Second, I don't know who the hell you are. Um, I've been, I have more than 20 years worth of education under my belt. I've had more than enough time in school. I've got 2 letters to go to get my PhD. Actually, I want to get my PsyD if I'm going to get anything. But the reality is, I don't engage anymore. I will absolutely warn person once, and then after that, I start blocking or I limit their conversations. I've had women come in and just they write something. I wrote a post about politics recently, and all I said is, "What happens if you have one view and I have another? Can a relationship work?" And then I said, yes, it can. This is how you do it. People were incensed about it. And my post was based off the 2 biggest political commentators in the United States, James Carville and his wife. He is a Democrat. She is a Republican. They're married. They have kids, but they leave their politics at the door when they come home. They don't ever talk about it at home. I think that's amazing. They've been married for so long. These are people who are actively in it compared to the armchair cowboys who are online every day, who have no stake in the game, and they want to argue. But these people came in and flooded the comments, so I just started going, "Click, you're banned." I'm not concerned that they'll never read what I'm saying again. They can go create another account and come back and read it if they'd like to, or go to my website because I post some of my stuff there. That's fine. But I am no longer going to put myself in a space where my mental health or my stress or somebody's going to affect my weekend, especially when I'm with my partner. Never going to happen again. And that was the moment months ago I started doing that. And there's a big change in all of my writings now. And I put it in there. And I'm fine with that because that way I practice what I preach. Hey, we've got a block button. Use it. Absolutely blocked. And I'm happy to tell you 2,000, 2,100, 2,200. I'm hoping to get like to 15,000. I want to be the blocker of FetLife. That's what my goal is. Look, I'm cool. You want to do your OnlyFans and all that stuff. But if your only link is to give you money called through Cash App or Venmo, I have nothing in common with you. I'm not going to talk to you about anything. I'm not interested in a conversation. We're in two different paths. I wish you well, but block. I move on. And that's going to be offensive to some people. But frankly, if you ask yourself, if everybody there is just asking you for money and they're not contributing anything, they're just coming there to exploit that place. That's it. I'm not interested. So I limit my engagement. And if it's
Damn,
affecting you,
I gotta look at my fucking block list and see what I got.
I tell you what, I'll go toe to toe with you on my good on a good day. I get about 50 on a good day. I get about 50 blocks, and man, nothing gets me going better in the morning.
I'm telling
Drinking
you, it's always
coffee,
the wildest when I click on a profile and I'm like, oh,
I love
I've
it.
been blocked.
You know what? I sit here with a cup of coffee. I get done with my veterans group in the morning. I crack open FetLife, and I'm watching the show just unfold, or I'm watching of, oh please, buy my video, and all over my face. That's good for you, sweetheart. You're on a journey. Your journey's different than mine, but congratulations. Welcome to my block list. Because it's just easier for me to have people like that blocked.
I
I
get
have
that.
nothing in
You
common
just
with,
don't want to
yeah.
see it. I get it.
I don't want to see it, and it's fine. That's their journey. That's not mine.
I
I have
get it.
nothing in common.
I get
Yeah.
it.
So it's easy. Or like I said, if you're going to get people coming in and bullying you, block them. You
Oh,
take their voice away.
I don't have an issue with blocking. It's not that. I just almost sometimes want to teach them, like maybe.
So you're making a huge mistake right there. You're not going to do that. You can't
Okay.
teach people. Yeah, you're going to have to move past that. That's just more advice. You can do it all you want, but they're not going to learn what. That's exactly what they're trying to do to you. You're wrong, honeybee. You're wrong, and I'm coming to your page to tell you why you're wrong. And then they're thinking you're going to go, oh my God, you're right. You've taught me something. Let me repent my sins, get down on my legs, suck your dick, and delete my post. Well, that's never going to
It's not
happen.
that. It's when someone messages me something that's like, or like replies to a picture and they say something that's completely unwarranted. And I will
I
say,
understand,
and I
but
will
I
be
mean,
like, am I the one to say that? Like, there's plenty
well,
of
no, but
women you could
then
say that
you
to.
have to face that too because you have to take onus of the responsibility that you placed that photo on there
I
and
get
that
it.
people are online
I
and
get
they're going
it.
to have unfiltered responses. I'm not saying I agree with any emails that you're getting that are deplorable. Absolutely 100% in your corner, but you do have to own the
Yes,
fact if you don't
I signed up for it. I get it.
correct. And if you don't want it, here's another thing. Even if you don't want emails, you can shut emails off.
I have. I've turned everything to inbox. Like I've learned. That's the whole point. No one understands when they join, like the options that they have. I've learned.
Well, okay, so I'm not going to defend the site owner here, but it is our responsibility for signing up to explore the options that are
Of
available to
course,
us.
but you sign up on like a fucking Saturday night when you had 3 glasses of wine. You understand?
Okay, so all right,
Do you know what
so
I mean?
whose whose responsibility is it then?
That's my responsibility.
There we go. And my job is done today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for this episode of The King Perspective. Boom, right there, mic drop. It's our responsibility. It's
It
ours.
is.
When I even joined up, I explored every few. How much can I block? I'll tell you the only thing I can't do is the tags. I struggled because when he brought that feature in, I couldn't find him, and it was actually a friend of mine that's like, "This is how you get to the tags." I'm like, "Awesome!" It's really convoluted, but
Fucking
these
hate.
things are
Fucking hate
these
it.
things are really our responsibility, and if we're not going to do them, well, we are opening ourselves up to the dumbasses that are out that permeate the planet with
True.
every unfiltered thought in their mind. And the reality is a lot of the times, and this isn't directed at this isn't a you, this is a general you. The same people that are complaining about these people are the same people that do nothing to protect themselves. So they're just as guilty as the people who are emailing them. I've said it. Own your shit, own your responsibility, but they don't want to because they want the attention. They want to claim victim, and then they want to sell you some shit for 1995, and their followers go buy it, and then it crashes just like the dipshit down in Australia who was selling his stupid erotica, right? It was all fake.
Stole it, and he stole it.
Oh, he stole work from me,
Oh,
right? He stole mental health work from me and posted it. I called him out on it. He then blocked me. A friend of mine then called him out on it. He blocked and deleted her comment. And there was nothing I could do. And it wasn't the first time. So the only thing I did was
I know.
I move a lot of my writings to my personal website. So if you steal from me, you're now stealing from something that is very much copyrighted. And if I find out about it and I decide to, I can sue you, or I will take it to your country and get it taken down. That's a different story, though. The reality
Chris,
is
let me ask you a question. So
yes,
we're gonna call it a night because I have work
yes,
tomorrow.
we are going to bring this to a
Do
close.
you have any other question or comments or anything?
That was how you're going to bring this to a close. You're asking me. That was your big question to me? Wow. That was, you know what? You all heard it first here. The most enlightening question I received. Do I have anything
No, I'm just
else?
saying, is there anything that we have not talked about that you wanted to touch on?
No, I think you got a lot of fucks and pusses and assholes in there. So that's good. That will be definitely like a quad explicit warning on this for the fragile people that are going to listen to this episode. So that'll be there.
Okay.
I'm going to have to just put my conversation with Honeybeeeee XXXX bleep, 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 and we discussed bleep, 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 bleep. That's it. Because people are going to lose their mind.
This
No,
went
look,
120. No, you go.
I appreciate your time today, and it's kind of interesting to have somebody who's has a new perspective that's starting to learn, that's trying to figure out where they fit in this world, how confusing it is, the things that they've encountered in a place like FetLife or other social media, where they're starting to gain even popularity, and then the all the stuff that you shared. I think it's really actually quite important for a lot of people to hear, especially being in the middle parts of our life. This is usually the time when we're starting to really understand our sexuality and what we want. And when we encounter a place like FetLife, then we can just start to see, unfortunately, the shit show of people that are there.
Yeah.
And that either can make it a great experience or make it a terrible experience.
Agreed.
So, well, look, I want to thank you so much. These have been a fun couple of hours with you.
This was
I'm gonna have
awesome.
to definitely
2 hours.
go wash my mouth out with some soap. I feel dirty. I feel very dirty. All right, I've had to really contain myself. You were going to make me go all Navy on you for a second, but I've had to contain myself a little bit.
This was awesome.
But I do. I appreciate you sharing this and sharing your insights with the world. And if you're curious or if you have something you want to talk to me about, just like Honeybeeeee did, please feel free to reach out to me and contact me through thekinkperspective@gmail.com. You can reach out to me on FetLife, talk to me. This conversation with her was kind of important because I really think when we started fleshing out what we wanted to discuss, I think this was something that became, why we're here today talking. Until next time, everybody, be safe and stay kinky.